let's move on to our roadmap. But before we get into the roadmap, I just wanted to talk a little bit about EASSI and how it fits into the roadmap for the city in terms of their sustainability. So as you may know, EASSI's big component of EASSI's mission is to help you, community organizations, nonprofits become more energy resilient so that they can invest more time and resources into your mission of serving residents. But another important part of this that ties into the City of South Bend's sustainability plan is their climate action plan, which is to become carbon neutral by 2050. And that won't be possible unless, part of that is working alongside community organizations, getting buy-in from the community, and having collaboration with community organizations like you. So this program also aligns more broadly with sustainability and climate goals, creating stronger institutions, getting greater community buy-in in sustainability programs and initiatives, creating greater environmental awareness and education. And so this program provides that opportunity to provide proof about what sustainability looks like, what the benefits are in terms of energy efficiency, solar energy, how that can improve and impact the lives of residents within South Bend. So we're very excited to work with you as we get started in the EASSI program. This is our program roadmap. The dates might be different for your organization, and if that's the case, I will be in touch with you. We have assessments starting this week, and we also have assessments starting late March, early April. Once the assessment is complete, Donna will work to provide an assessment report, which will take a couple weeks, late March, late April, and we'll work to get that assessment report to you about a week before we meet with you to review that assessment report with you. So this gives you some time to look over the report, have any questions if you have any questions, have those ready as you prepare to meet with us, and then we'll meet to review that assessment report with you, most likely virtually, and then in that meeting we'll help to prioritize the projects that work best for your building. So once you have a sense of which projects you want to pursue, you'll then pick a contractor, and I'll also be there to assist with connecting you to contractors, helping to collect quotes from contractors to get the best offer for you. We will also be providing a registry, a list of contractors by the end of the week, and we'll continue to add to that list throughout the year. So once you have the projects that you want to do, you've picked your contractor, you have a contract with that contractor, you'll then complete a grant and or loan application if you need additional financing, whether that's through IFF or your preferred financial institution. And then once those projects are complete, installed, Donna will sign off on that project no later by November. And then the funds that are from the matching grant from the city then be provided to you. And if there's any concerns or questions about the reimbursement for those funds, please let us know. I will now hand it off to Donna to talk about the energy assessment.
Hi. Excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat this morning. So I am in South Bend. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to be here all week and meeting with most of you. A little bit about the way the energy assessment will go. I'm going to go through the building. This is an overview of the building, and we're really looking specifically at energy related issues. Now, I'm a registered architect, which means I'm licensed by the state to be a expert on the life safety and welfare and health and well-being of people in regards to buildings. If I see something in your building that really scares me, I will let you know. If I really think it's an imminent danger, I will let you know. But I don't want you to freak out when you get a report back that says the condition of something is fair, or the condition of something is, it needs to be addressed within a few years. If it's something imminent, I am required by the state to tell you this is imminent, you need to take steps. If I don't feel it's imminent, that means you're fine. You just need to be monitoring it and keep going. And the really big area I want to mention about this is if you see the word asbestos in your report, do not flip out. Asbestos is common. It's only dangerous under very specific situations. So for the most part, as long as you aren't like having the floor of the nursery where the children are crawling is asbestos tile that they're licking, it's most likely not a problem, okay? Please do not panic. And please know that if I do see something that really makes me nervous, I will let you know immediately, okay? So even though it's going to take a few weeks to do these things, again, if I see anything imminent, I'll let you know right away, and you can call in a contractor to look at it, But again, don't panic when you see anything that I say looks like, okay, this has to be addressed. Unless it's an immediate danger, it'll be something that you can take your time on. I think a lot of people panic and make changes really quick, and then it ends up being something that maybe long-term causes more problems. And so the whole point of this is that I am coming in, the city's coming in, we're taking an overall holistic view of your building and saying, these are the things you could do that will be easy to do. These are the things that will be a longer term commitment, but are really worth it. These are things that maybe you could do, but it's going to be very expensive. And unless you have like a really great benefactor who's willing to do it, it may not be worth time to pursue it. As we say at IFF, and as Alex has said, our goal of the city, the goal of IFF is to help you guys do your mission. That's our goal. We want you to be able to provide more resources to your mission, to provide, to have a safe environment where your people can come and get the things they need. We don't want you spending a lot of money on things that are not going to be beneficial to that mission. So when I come to do the assessment, I will be there. I'll be poking and everything. I'll be taking a million pictures. I'll be hopefully going up on the roof, especially for those of you that want to do solar. If I do need to go on the roof, I need you to have a ladder because I don't have a ladder with me. Yeah, it'll be fun to walk through and see your buildings, and I'm really looking forward to it. Energy Assessment Week. I love that that's what it's called, Alex. Like we're all focused on it this week. All right. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all. And again, I'm available to reach out to me during the course of this. If anything, if you have questions about something, if something happens that in the next month to your building and you want to get my insight on what I might have seen when I was there, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information should be there for all of you to email me. So I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Donna. And just to add to what Donna talked about, we'll send that assessment report to you about 1 week before meeting to review the assessment with you. And this gives you, some time to review the assessment, share it with your decision makers, your stakeholders, bring any questions you might have at that meeting. In that meeting, as I mentioned before, it's most likely virtual. It'll be a 1 hour meeting. And we encourage you to, invite any key decision makers to that meeting so that, they can get their questions answered and, they feel comfortable picking the projects that you want to pursue. Now I'm going to hand it off to Evie, who will talk about solar.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evie Bauman. We might have met before, but if not, it's great to meet you all or see you virtually. Thank you all so much for being here today and also for your interest in this program. We are thrilled to launch EASSI, and thanks to Alex and Donna for all their hard work so far. And if you missed that nice slide with all of our headshots, I'm the Director of Sustainability for the city. So thrilled to be working so closely with Alex on this project. So I wanted to take this time, just a quick few minutes, to talk about solar. I was very excited to hear a number of you talk about solar when you were saying what you were interested most in the program. Can everybody type in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, how you would label your familiarity with solar. 1 being not at all familiar, this is the first time I will have ever heard a deep dive on it, or 10 being like, we have panels, I could add to them tomorrow, I'm very familiar. Please, I'd love to see kind of where we fall on that spread. Okay, great. Okay, big spread, good. Amazing. Okay, so this this is very helpful. We have everything from a 1 to a 9, I think. So I will tailor these comments accordingly. And another follow-up thing at the end of my little session here too, we may very well do another solar deep dive session for you all if that's of interest. So for those of you who are good to go, you have the information you need, that's fine. If people want to learn more about how to convince people in their circles and those key decision makers we're talking about, we can set up another time to talk about it more in depth. So speaking of those talking points, we have, oh yes. And also we could go to the NNN, do a site visit to go see the NNN's panels and understand their magic in full detail. So just the quick why, Alex has already, I'd also be interested, I can see some of you on screen, a quick virtual show of hands. Who knew that South Bend had a climate action plan that stated our goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2050? Raise your hand if yes, and I guess give me I'm seeing a shaking of a head if no. Okay, nice. Okay, that's also very helpful for us to know. I think I saw maybe 1 hand total. So good to be becoming familiar with, this is the roadmap for the Office of Sustainability, trying to achieve certain goals towards carbon neutrality by that date. And within our climate action plan, you can Google South Bend Climate Action Plan, go check it out for yourself. We highlight 2 major sectors that contribute to the community's greenhouse gas emissions. One of them is energy. So our goals associated with energy is to reduce our energy usage in the community and then switch to renewables when possible. And thanks to we did an inventory of how and where all these emissions coming from. About 60% of our emissions are due to our energy usage in buildings. So that's why we launched EASSI. We want to be working with the built environment here in South Bend to help them reduce their emissions and go solar and switch to renewables when possible. And so why solar too? And Alex, I'm not sure, I had added a slide, but I don't know if that made it into this particular version. We want to reduce emissions, but then the other probably more compelling piece for you in the near term is that you can become more energy independent with solar. I have a nice chart that I will send you of I&M electricity prices have increased about 40% over the past decade and are likely to continue to increase. So this is a way for you and your long-term financial planning to have some more control over that, because I&M has, I think, submitted 3 rate cases in the past 4 years to continue to raise rates. So this is a way to start. The payback for solar will be much clearer, perhaps, than guessing when the next time the utility will raise electricity rates. And if you construct your system to potentially add a battery in the future, you can add that resilience piece. So as we see more extreme weather over the next decade, especially, and the years to come, it might be very helpful to have batteries attached to your panels so you can have backup power and become a hub for cooling in extreme heat if the power goes out, for heating in extreme storms too. So there are some great ways to think about how you can become a more resilient organization and also be that source for community members who might not be as resilient in their individual homes. So that's a bit of the why. And also for this program, if you're a homeowner or a private business, you can claim a 26% tax credit on your solar panels, but as a nonprofit, you can't. So we're hoping that this program too, with our grant of up to $10,000, will be a little bit of that incentive that other folks have when they're considering solar, because they're likely to get that 26% back. And so the why now point is something that Juan mentioned earlier today. There is a deadline that is coming up that is around net metering. Raise your hand again. I'll just do the quick virtual check. I'm guessing those who are on the lower end of the spectrum, have you ever heard about net metering? I'm going to say probably just a few. Okay, so a few, I see. So net metering is a concept where you get a 1-to-1 credit for any excess energy that your panels would send back onto the grid. And so what that means is at the end of the month, if your panels have overproduced, you will see that back on your bill. So I'm actually, Alex, do you mind if I hijack the screen to share one compelling chart? I'm going to go here just so we can visually understand what that means. Okay. Can people see this? Yes. Okay. So this is more typical for a home whose energy consumption would happen at night, and you leave for the work, so it goes down, but your panels are going to be producing the most during the middle of the day, but that's likely when you're using the least. For your organizations, maybe if you're a theater, your energy consumption is the highest at night. So this might line up with your energy usage. Maybe your program has activities after school. So this also might line up for you. It truly does depend on your organization. But we want you to get credited for all of that excess energy that's put back on the grid during the peak production. So I can also share these slides later on with you. That's really just what I wanted to share there, I guess. What it means is that right now you get the one-to-one credit. If you install your system after July 1st, you will not be reimbursed at that one-to-one credit for excess energy. You will be, if you get currently paid 14 cents, you'll get about 3 cents back. This is getting very wonky, and the reality is things are shifting on a daily basis. So that's why we are here to help guide you through I&M's latest decision-making policies. There, you might be able to submit an interconnection application and that be enough by July 1st, actually. So you might be able to install your system up until September, which would be really good news for this group. We will keep you updated because that is quite literally a conversation that is happening right now. So that is some fun, quick decision making on your all's part of if you would ever install a system that would be producing more energy than you'd be using at any time. So this is a bit of a challenge for me as I've just word vomited at you and knowing that some folks are here on the solar scale and some folks are here. So I'm just gonna wrap up this solar pitch conversation around net metering there, and we can find some time to have another session and then point you actually to these resources, and then we can follow up on an individual case-by-case basis. So Alex, if you will go to the next few slides, we'll skip over these production graphs. So what it means for your organization, we will work with you to help determine if this is relevant for you, because the fact of the matter is you might only be interested in a system that will never, ever produce more than what your building consumes at any moment in time. So that means the time constraint might not be relevant for you. And that will depend on your budget, your actual facility, the roof condition, etc. Second step, what it means for you is that Donna is going to give a green light during your assessment of, yes, your building is sound enough, you can consider solar. It looks like there could be some potential, and then we can chat about solar after she gives that initial green light. Obviously, the NNN, you have the green light since you have panels already. Number 3, what it means for you is that we can help you start collecting quotes for solar now, as of this week, once Donna gives that green light, because there is this time crunch on the background. So here are some starting points for collecting quotes. You can sign up for an organization called Solar United Neighbors. They've launched a co-op in this area, and you can get a free quote from them if you sign up by the end of this month. So that would mean by next week. They are working with one installer who has guaranteed a discounted group purchase price. And so you might as well take advantage of this opportunity, see what that would look like for your facility. And then there is also a curated list, no problem, Greg. There's also a curated list of installers that you can reach out to from our partner, Maycog has put that together. The installer for the co-op is Solar Energy Systems. So they are one of the installers on Maycog's list. Great question. And then we are also collecting more information about solar installers on the contractor registry list. And then last but not least, We will, as I mentioned, update you on I&M's net metering timeline deadlines. They are in the process of determining whether it's just that interconnection application that is due by July 1st, or if your system must be set up and ready to operate by that deadline to qualify again for net metering, a 1-to-1 credit on any excess energy that's produced from the grid. And I know that was a lot, so we've also compiled some resources for you. We have a southbendin.gov/go solar website. So if you go to that site, you can see a very clear process for going solar. So all of the things that I just said to you in the span of 2 minutes, you can read so much more about, get a better sense of what are kind of the basic barriers. And yes, you can also share the solar co-op info with anyone who may be interested in adding solar to the homes. Thank you, Kathy. Right now, I think a lot of homeowners have been the primary folks who've taken advantage of the co-op, but they do also want to open it to nonprofits and small businesses. But yes, especially great for homeowners. So at this website, you can see that process of what it takes to get solar ready, once you're solar ready, how to contact installers, and then flipping the switch. So that very technical term of interconnection application, what does that mean? That will all be listed on that flipping the switch page. Additionally, basic solar questions can be answered by watching our good friends who launched the co-op, Solar United Neighbors Solar 101 webinar. And Wednesday at 7 p.m., they are having a live session. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it, even if you are maybe on that higher end of knowledge of solar. You can ask all of your questions. You can learn much more about this particular co-op, but they'll also give you the Solar Tech 101 basics, Solar Economics 101 basics, and then what it means to join the co-op in this context. And then the last resource that we wanted to share with you is, oh yes, we can host another Solar 101 session because 10 minutes is by no means enough time to dig into this, and we will also bring in some outside experts for you. So if you could give a quick yes, maybe, no in the chat of would you be interested in having a follow-up 101 session, that would be very helpful to us. Thank you. Great. Wonderful. And we will get in touch about that based on these responses that are coming in. All right, Alex, back to you.
All right. We'll just pause right here for any questions on the EASSI roadmap, the energy assessment week, and any questions on solar.
Will we get this presentation sent our way?
Yes, we will. Yeah, we will send you a copy of the slides and a copy of the recording. The recording, I started a little bit later than when the first couple slides, so you might miss the first couple slides there, but you should get the bulk of the recording.
Did I understand, or did I hear that the net metering was a 1-to-1 versus a 1 to 1.25? Because I thought net metering was the wholesale plus the 0.25.
Yes, it is. It is. And so I have these really wonky slides. One that the good news is over about 2 weeks ago, there was a good news for advocates where at one point in time, the utilities wanted you, anytime you sent excess energy back on the grid, they wanted to reimburse you at that the wholesale rate plus 25% of that. Now it's actually the total at the end of the month. So if you've ever produced more, if your panels produce more than you use throughout the entire month, you will get reimbursed at that rate. But there might not be an impact. So Kathy, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all too, if you all ever benefit from net metering because your system size might be so small, not so small, but small enough that it never reaches the threshold of your panels produced more than your building consumed throughout the month.
Yeah, that's our case, is that we have a 5 kilowatt system that does never produce enough to cover all of the energy needs. I have panels on my home as well. And so I see it there. So it's nice to see that it works, but that's exactly what happens. It's kind of like, especially in summer months when you get more daylight, is that you get a credit. You never get a check in the mail. You get a credit on your bill
Thank you.
Evelyn, do you know if Crossroads Solar is on the list of equipment providers?
Yes, so they manufacture. So to Jeff's question, Crossroads Solar is a new local solar panel manufacturing company. A professor from Notre Dame pivoted his career, started it, and they exclusively work and hire folks who were formerly incarcerated. And they just opened their operations last September, and they have been working with a number of installers on both the contractor registry list that we as the city are putting together for you all, as well as a number of the installers listed on MACOG's list of solar installers. So I know for a fact that Wellspring is one solar company that works closely with them, as well as Green Alternatives Incorporated. They will give you the option to use Crossroads solar panels. So any installer can offer you, frequently they'll offer you 3 different choices, and they will differ in price, quality, whether they only have one facing or bifacial panels. And Crossroads Solar is actually working on that bifacial panel. But yes, a number of the installers on that list will offer Crossroads solar panels.
Okay, that's great. Good news.
Yeah, and it's super exciting to have it sourced locally. So
Mhm.
that's really, really great for us. And we can also bring Pat Regan to a Solar 101 session here too to talk more about that process and their mission, because it just would be a very great synergy of lots of good
Yes.
missions coming into play.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And for those, it doesn't always have to go on the roof, I'll say too. So you can start expanding your thoughts. If you have a parking lot, you could do a carport. We can get creative with your solar opportunities as well. And to make it really worthwhile if you're trying to go for this. We want it to be set up and ready to install. We want to get that 1-to-1 credit for the next 10 years. That's an important clarification, but that will help you pay off the system. And we've been in talks too for some solar specific financing for nonprofits. So we'll update you if those partnerships materialize and we have more to bring to the table for you to consider.
All right, thank you, Evie. We have a couple more slides to go through. Some questions for you. So let's do that. I'll launch this poll. And I realize that this poll app may not work for everyone, so I will also put it in the chat. But I know I've been primarily doing communication through email, but I also wanted to ask if there's a second best way to communicate with you, and if there's any questions or concerns about in terms of communication, please let me know, and we can talk offline, or you can put it in the chat as well. Please let me know what you prefer in terms of communication in addition to email. All right. We still have a couple folks entering in information. All right, thank you. Thank you for providing all that information in the chat and through the poll. Another question that I have is if there's any interest in a channel of communication with other organizations within the spring cohort, if that's like a Facebook group or Slack or email group or something like that. And I'd be happy to facilitate that process, put that that infrastructure in place. So if you can let us know through the poll or through the chat if you're interested in that. And yeah, I'd be happy to facilitate that.
And if anyone wants to come off mic too and voice something that's worked well in terms of really the Facebook group or Slack or email, a strong preference on this question too, we're open to creating something that works best for you all.
Yeah, please let us know.
I don't have like a platform I recommend over another, but I think an in-person meeting, maybe at our different sites, if we were meeting monthly or whenever the next regular one, if someone would be willing to host. I know La Casa would be happy to, but to have folks in the same room, I think we all benefit from shared experiences, even some communal networking after the fact that we meet to talk about, here's what my board said, or here's my board struggles, or here's where my financing's at. That may all be super helpful outside of the 1 hour meetings that we have. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you. Another question I have. I this up one more time. And this is just for my knowledge, is we start to do the assessments and consider projects. You know, if you anticipate any assistance, you know, finding contractors, please let me know, and that will help me as I prepare for the next steps. And yeah, you can also unmute yourselves as well if prefer to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that we at the YWCA would be interested in resources for contractors. We're considering lighting, or at least I think at this point, prior to an assessment from Donna, we're considering lighting. And I think that's probably our lowest hanging fruit, and that would be most fruitful with the grant money. And so it would probably be really helpful to, you know, to find out who some good contractors or good sources for that are.
All right, thank you, David. All right. So we have some announcements. We have a press release that's coming out. We also will be emailing you an onboarding checklist to keep you on track. A copy of the presentation and a recording of the presentation. And also, so we're in the process of drafting this press release. So just want to see if there's any interest in providing a quote or a media interview as part of that press release. And if so, you know, please enter it in the chat or unmute yourselves, and we'll follow up with you, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Great.
That concludes our meeting. Happy to stay on to answer any additional questions. Thank you again for your attention and taking time to meet with us today. If you have any additional questions or you need any assistance, feel free to call me or email me. And if you have any questions for IFF in terms of financing, you can also call or email them at the information that's on this slide. So I will stay on the line and happy to answer any additional questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
or even just chat and get to know you more too. We'll be around. We ended early, so feel free to stick around too. And any thoughts that you're having, especially for Donna, pre-energy assessment today, we are available. And thank you all again so much for your time.
I have a question for you guys. Mainly about the financing and the grants. I don't really know what to expect or what level of funding may be available. I'm looking to apply for some funding options and other grants to supplement. And so how do you have any advice on how to proceed with that? I don't know what's available through this process, or kind of like, I know that the loans might be available, but just trying to figure out how to plan for the future, even though I know we don't know what costs we're going to be acquiring. I know if we expand the solar system, it'll probably, it could be 15,000, something like that. So yeah, just any more thoughts on the funding would be helpful.
Sure. I will take a step at this, and then Donna, Alex, if you have thoughts too, please feel free, and we can also connect to. The first thought I have is that Andre Gibson, who is our key lending partner at IFF, he shared a bit just about IFF's financing during our webinar. That was at the end of January, and that is posted on the EASSI website. So you can skip to him just giving, it's a pretty quick overview, but he gives the terms of IFF's lease, which I believe is 15 years at a 5.25 rate, is my understanding for IFF's lending. But we can follow up and connect you with Andre for more specifics. So we can also, he is open to one-on-one conversations, Kathy, too, to help talk about what IFF can offer. Those loans start as low as $5,000 and could go up to $1 million, if not 5 million, I think, Donna, I'm looking at you. And for the city's grant, up to $10,000 in matching grant funds. So if you end up selecting a solar project that, or adding to your array, that is only 15,000. But then if you're also looking to do another project, so your total project costs add up to greater than 20K, you can count on that full $10,000 from the city. We want to help you offset as many of those costs as possible. And it doesn't have to be just for one particular project. And we also, like I mentioned, might have some other leads for solar lending specifically. We've been working with an organization that Pat Reagan actually connected us to called Collective Sun to see if they're willing to give with us to add, to offer their Sun for All loan, which is actually at a 10-year 3.5% rate too. So we've been exploring some other financing opportunities for solar specifically, but then also happy to talk with you about who you've been thinking of working with, et cetera. And then if Donna, you want to speak at all to the energy assessment, I know that you'll have some sample costs listed there too. So once you have that, that will also help obviously with thinking of how to allocate funds and fundraise accordingly.
Right. I would just echo what Evie said, that Amandla Anderson, whose information is on the screen right now, and Andre Gibson at IFF, they are just amazing resources for all kinds of information about nonprofit lending and specific to IFF and elsewhere where you can look for grants and whatnot. They're wonderful and knowledgeable. So I would encourage contacting them. But yes, for the assessment that we will be doing, we will be giving you some sort of a range of what we call a rough order of magnitude estimate, which means it's within 50%. So it's a pretty broad number, but as you get into it, if you really feel that if we feel that you're a really good candidate for something, we can sort of define that down a little bit tighter. Again, keeping in mind that the $10,000 match that the city's doing and what you all may be able to bring to the table in addition to what you might have on hand. So we will be trying to work very quickly with you all in the next couple months to get through some of that. I definitely encourage reaching out to Amandla and Andre. They're super knowledgeable about this stuff.
I have a question. I was on the low end of understanding about solar panels, and so $10,000 is a nice amount of money for a matching grant, but it doesn't seem like a whole lot when you're talking about mechanical installation. So are solar panels relatively inexpensive? Can you just help me understand what kind of a cost impact we're looking at for like each panel installation, coverage for your kind of square footage of your building, just kind of an understanding of a cost impact?
Really great question. And also, Alex, too, if you want to, you can stop sharing your screen so we can see each other as well. I also just put in Andre's email to the chat, Kathy, for your reference as well. So yes, and unfortunately, the Go Solar website from South Bend is largely focused on residents. So you might be misled by the 15 to 20K is maybe your average total for installation. It truly depends on your space. So if you go to South Bend's Go Solar website, it will point you to some tools, including Google's sunroof tool, PV Watts. Donna is actually going to be helping with this as well, too. That will be part of the energy assessment to get a basic understanding of how much solar could fit onto your roof. And from that, just even Google imagery, you can say, all right, it's looking like maybe 25 kilowatts could fit on my roof. And then we can help you average out that price. It will be hopefully less than $2.50 per watt, which I off the top of my head, I think that's the average cost for Indiana right now. But it might be less for this larger commercial size. So I know that other installers were giving some quotes for a school in town that was closer to $1.75 or $2, I think, per watt. So it will become a little less expensive the bigger size system that you have. So step one would be just using those virtual tools, and Donna will help you this week too. We can talk through it. And she can even pull out her laptop maybe during your assessment too, if that's something that you want to know ASAP. We can do it too on our end this week for you to help you say, okay, Jeff, here's like probably what we're looking at. We're not going to give you the maximum or minimum, but here's how you could start to roughly think about that price. And then it really will depend on the installer and what equipment they're using and those soft costs too. So it could range, depending on how big your building is, 70K to 200K, 50K to 100,000. But you will be seeing those savings immediately too. So that's the piece of the financing that we want to help you view if there are ways to make it cash flow positive from day one, which is the financing wizardry that I'm not an expert in, but we are reaching out to experts to help really try and make that feasible. So I know that's a pretty loose answer to your question, but those are some steps we can take to help you.
Yeah, no, that was helpful. Thank you.
And I'll just chime in again and say that part of this process is, as Evie and Alex mentioned, after the assessment visit this week, I'll give a green light if you seem like a good candidate. And that would be like, if your roof needs to be replaced and it's a 100-year-old slate roof, that's not going to be a great candidate to put solar in now, because you'll just have to tear it off to do the slate roof later, right? So the green light is just a general, yes, it seems like you should keep exploring this. And at that point, we can help you try to figure out like how big would it be, and then start to put costs on it. It's really hard. And I tried to do this with geothermal on another project recently. It's really hard to give a just rule of thumb price for solar, because there are so many variables on roof condition, structure, weight, size, orientation. So we're not dodging the question, I promise. The point is that I'll get out there, we'll take a look, we'll say, okay, yes, you do seem like a good candidate, or no, sorry, you should probably pursue things like window replacement. That will serve you better. So.
Or if you have a big field nearby, we can. I'm totally here for promoting the ground mounted solar as
absolutely, well. Absolutely. Like, oh, you've got this big field and then you don't have anything to do with it, or you've got this parking lot that you never need that many people parking there. Like, yeah, let's look at doing a different alternative version.
Thanks, Kathy.
Bye, Kathy. And I had a question about timeline. I know we were looking at, by the time you will review the energy assessment, how tight is that timeline, and how tight is the timeline to apply for the grant funds? So, I mean, ours is pretty specific, and I don't want to get in the weeds here, but I know our roof needs to get changed, but I know we want to try to hit net metering. And I think we're really close to getting our board on board. And there are some funds available from potentially a private donor, and we're looking at the financing options. And Don, I'll see you probably in a couple of hours. So we've done so much legwork, but I guess I want to know how flexible that calendar is, because changing the roof is probably going to be a sooner rather than later type of deal.
Yeah. I actually have to run because I need to go to my first assessment at Paramount Schools. But we'll look at it today. And Evie, if you can help answer for the moment, I do have to run. I'll see you all later.
Bye, Donna.
Donna. Juan, the short answer is we are willing to be as flexible as you need. We can also, Alex mentioned, right now our default is the reimbursement model too, but if for some reason your donor, you all need something that would come before the project is complete and done too, we can work with IFF. We have partnered with them to do the full administration of our grants too. So they are willing to be flexible depending on your needs. So we do not have a set timeline for us. It'll just be, we want to get some spring or fall cohort organizations in the door later this summer too. So that will be our capacity limitations. That's why we've been hoping to get a lot of that work done before more organizations come on board, but there's no hard and set deadline. Alex, do you have thoughts on that at all too?
No, I think we're flexible, and we want to make sure that this program is successful, and we understand that each organization that's part of this cohort is different. So we want to make sure that you know, the projects you have are installed and make an impact. So we're definitely flexible and make sure all that aligns to your needs.
Awesome. Yeah, well, great. Well, I will look forward to the energy assessment. I'm sure I'll connect more specifically with Donna and Evie. We've probably got a lot to connect on at this point. The board's excited. I think we're hoping to hit that deadline, but there's a lot that needs to happen to do it, and it's a major investment. So,
Right. No, that's so exciting to hear. And then we also hope to, like you're saying, Juan, to networking of talking about that process of getting the board on board too. How can someone like Carol get her decision makers on board too, which I know is already a different structure and hierarchy too. So absolutely hoping to share the lessons that you're learning quickly too of what sites, resources helped you make this decision, how you can move quickly on the roof repair too. That's another contractor we should add to our list too for folks. So super, super excited about it.
all right. Well, thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you.
Thanks.
Bye.
I just wanted to say thanks very much, and I didn't answer anything in chat because I can't see chat.
No.
I have looked at every setting in front of me. I got nothing. So I don't know. I'll send you an email with my answers to like
Sure.
4 questions.
Sure.
It's a little bit
Appreciate it.
embarrassing. I'm looking
No,
at
no
everything.
worries.
There's nothing. I don't use Teams very much, but I just don't see it.
Carol, I'm the IT director also as, at the YWCA, and don't feel too embarrassed because I did not have chat available to me either, but it did pop up about the last 10 minutes here, but it would not load. So.
Well,
Okay. No,
Thank
this is actually good to know as well, though, so that when we have another meeting, we can find a better way to, you know, answer or collect any questions that we might have for you, or you know, vice versa.
well, just
you
as a
for-
point of
yeah.
information, I saw one brief flash of one poll question at the end, but the rest of the time it was a white screen when you were asking questions on the poll. So I don't, and I think I just updated. Well, I just downloaded the Teams, whatever software. So I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I'll send you that email now. And thanks so much.
Sure, thank you.
I just had one question. I don't believe that we've had an energy assessment scheduled yet. So is it my understanding that you still have more to schedule? Is that correct?
Yes, David, you're with YWCA, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just yesterday I connected you through an email to Donna. So she'll probably connect with you maybe later this week. Just because of, you know, the different assessments that she's doing this week, she might get back to you towards the end of the week. But she will connect with you and you know, schedule that assessment.
All right, very good. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
I got one more question as well before I take off. I was wondering, sorry for dipping out in the middle there. I had to meet with the contractor real quick. But when Donna was speaking about doing the energy assessment and walking through the building, she mentioned that if she were to see any, you know, like hazards that she has to, you know, legally required by the state to bring to our attention. Is that also the case that if she sees something that's out of code or something that's a danger to the school kids or whatever the case may be, is she also bringing that to the attention of the state?
Really great question. And we will follow up. Alex, I don't know if she has said anything to you, but we can put that to her directly.
I'm not sure. I'd have to follow up with her on that question.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's the only question I had. So
My guess is that she would follow up with you directly about it. She won't be an expert in South Bend's municipal
Mhm.
code on our building codes, but for the state, yes. So she'll be looking at it. Again, too, her focus is on the efficiency and cooling. So perhaps if it's anything related to energy efficiency, that would be on her radar. But other health and safety things that she cannot leave the building and
Yeah.
is required to tell you, she will do that.
Okay.
But other things she might not give us close attention to just due to time and focus.
Alrighty. Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you. This has been helpful.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Have a good
Gregory.
day. Yep. Bye-bye.
You too.
Yay. Dr. Queen.